Ladies and gentlemen, it is your host with the biggest nose, JC Courtside, coming at y'all today on Wednesday, January 14th. For some reason, I thought today was Valentine's Day, and then I remembered it's only January. The year's not flying by that quickly. I hope everyone's having a phenomenal start to their Waffle Wednesday. I hope you guys all enjoyed the basketball games from last night. I hope wherever you are, you're getting sun and bright and nice weather, all right? I hope you guys got to watch some of the games last night as well, because there were a couple entertaining ones. Today's episode is going to be very, very interesting. Okay, let's go over the schedule and what we got looking for today's podcast. So up first, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite games from last night and what that game means and like all the other future things about it, right? And then we're going to bring our first ever special guest onto the podcast. That's right. Our first ever special guest. I'm excited for that. And I hope you guys are excited as well. We're going to be asking him a few questions. We got some lined up for that segment. And then, of course, we're going to talk about a few of the other games last night. Just go over like all the games in bulk. None of the games were really like crazy entertaining right down to the end. So we're just going to talk about them in a like lightning quick, storylines that you should follow in case you don't follow them already. And I'm going to be sharing a lot of valuable information today. I feel like most people know just the surface level, generic, general information. And I feel as though something I really enjoy is telling people something they don't know. And that's what we're going to be doing today, as well as like every other podcast in the future. Now, before we get into our first segment, I would like to say, podcast listeners, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. We thrive off of those and we don't get enough of them. So please and thank you. If you guys watch or listen on Spotify or Apple, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. And if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to drop a like, subscribe. If you're watching on TikTok, keep spamming up that like button. And if you are on Twitch, grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and enjoy the show. Let's get started with our first segment of today. We're going to be talking about one topic in particular about this game from last night. The Denver Nuggets, led by Peyton Watson, dropping 31 points, defeat the New Orleans Pelicans in New Orleans, 122-116. Now, you might be thinking, Jay, are you really starting the show off with the Denver Nuggets without Jokic versus the New Orleans Pelicans? And the answer is yes. Where else are you getting this type of high quality content? Can I ask, where else are you getting that? Nowhere. Everybody's probably starting with the Lakers. Everybody's probably starting with the national television game, the Thunder versus Spurs. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the Denver Nuggets and the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, in particular, if you guys are watching on YouTube or Spotify, you guys see who the thumbnail was, and it was Peyton Watson. I'm going to start with the Denver Nuggets talk before I move on to the Pelicans talk, okay? So, with the Denver Nuggets, I've been doing some studying, y'all, and I'm trying to get a better understanding of what the NBA truly is with all the new rules, all the new nuances, all of the new things that casual audiences are just unsure of, okay? So, as you guys can see, when you look at this box score, you see Peyton Watson, 31 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, guarding their best player. He was a plus 15 on the court. He was 11 for 16 from the field and 1 for 4 from 3. 77% true shooting. And basically, Spencer Jones did nothing, right? Aaron Gordon, 16 points, 6 for 15. He's still getting the hang of things. Jalen Pickett doing good, 6 for 9, 16 points. Jamal Murray, of course, hit some big shots near the end of this game. He had 35 points, 9 assists, 2 rebounds, 11 for 19 shooting. And off the bench, they had THJ, just an absolute flamethrower off the bench. Crazy, crazy, crazy good deal for him getting that veteran contract. Now, Bruce Brown, he's not been good this year. In fact, I'm sort of fully out on Bruce Brown, and that's okay. He was bad for the last 3 years after he left Denver, and now I guess I thought he would get a power up when he comes back to Denver. Turns out he really does thrive when Jokic is on the court. So I'm not too worried about Bruce Brown. He will play better when Jokic is back. Now, I want to talk about Peyton Watson in particular, ladies and gentlemen, because a lot of you guys, if y'all saw the thumbnail, you guys are probably saying, so who's this Peyton Watson guy? I'm going to give you guys a short introduction about Peyton Watson because I had to do the research as well. I didn't fully know what he was capable of. I watched him last year and it was like, dude, last year he was so raw. When you were watching him last year, it's like it was the obvious decision having Christian Brown in the game instead of Peyton Watson. But Peyton Watson last year, he was always a plus because of his defensive prowess. His defensive ability is incredible. He's got a crazy long wingspan. He's quick, he's athletic, and he's got a motor like no other. Straight up, this is like your favorite kind of basketball player. He's not an Amen Thompson. He's not an Asar Thompson. He's more of a Jordan Walsh, and that's not like to be taken lightly. Jordan Walsh is a beast, and the Celtics are going to try their hardest to bring him back, and I don't think they're going to be able to. Peyton Watson already is proving everybody wrong because last year, like I said, he was defensive focused. He had no offensive game. He did not have a shot. He did not have any confidence when the ball was in his hands, and now all of a sudden this year, with Jokic out, he has thrived. He has thrived. In fact, you want to know how much he thrived? This guy was drafted a couple years back, 3 years ago, by the Oklahoma City Thunder at pick 30. Guess what? He was immediately traded to Denver. Okay? In case you guys still don't buy how good this kid is, let me show you his last 10 games. His last 7 of which were without Jokic on the court. He is averaging, he doesn't even have a picture on StatMuse. He doesn't have a picture. He's averaging 22.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, almost 3 assists in his last 10 games. And I know what you guys are thinking. He must be taking a lot of shots. There's no way. His efficiency must be down the toilet. Well, guess what? He's averaging 42% from the three-point line and 51% from the field. Are you guys understanding how prolific this is? Are you guys genuinely understanding how unbelievable this is? He is averaging 50, 40, and 75 from the field. He is a guard. He's a guard. And he's averaging 51% from the field and 42% from three. Somebody that had no offensive bag all last season. And somehow he's jumped out to be this sort of freak of nature on both sides of the court. And I know what you guys are thinking, Jay-Z, 10 games? That's a small sample size. That's not crazy. Okay, that's fine. Let's look at this. This season, mind you, it's because he was playing with Jokic. And of course, Jokic is the center of attention. He was only averaging 14 points, 5 rebounds, which is still massive, 2 assists, a steal, and a block. That defense is there. And guess what? He's still shooting that 51%, and he's still shooting that 41% from three. So for anybody that's like, Jay-Z, that's not a much of a sample size, I have another comparison for you guys to understand. Let's look out east real quick in Brooklyn with Michael Porter Jr. The only thing that's changed about Michael Porter Jr. is that his volume went up and his percentages went up. And that's sort of crazy when you think about MPJ like that. Because when you are putting up empty stats or empty calories on a bad team, you then discredit them for what they do on the basketball court. Well, get this. Michael Porter Jr. is the center of attention in Brooklyn, right? He's the center of attention. He should not be getting open looks anywhere. But his volume went up and so did his percentages. So when you look at a Peyton Watson, the only thing that changed was the amount of times he's touching the ball, his volume, and his percentages still managed to somehow increase when Jokic is not on the floor. Part of this could be teams aren't used to what he's able to do. Teams aren't really planning out their game plan around a Peyton Watson. But at the same time, when your only thing that changes on you is your volume and yet you still improve, that is scary for a young player. Ladies and gentlemen, he is 23 years old, 6'8", and he's a dog. And I started to get stressed out because I started to think about Nuggets fans. Let me take a sip. I looked up and down this Nuggets roster, okay? And I started to stress out a little bit. Jay-Z, why are you stressed out? Well, the Denver Nuggets have reached their luxury tax. They have no more money, okay? After extending Christian Brown Aaron Gordon, of course, Jokic, as you guys all know, right? The best players on this team. They don't have money for Peyton Watson. I'd like to give a special shout out to Official Joe for coming into the Twitch stream, leaving the TikTok, coming through to the Twitch stream. I appreciate it. You guys are probably wondering now, wait, Jay-Z, if they don't have money, then how do you go? What are they going to do with this player? Well, let me explain how this situation is going to look like, okay? Peyton Watson is going to demand a pretty big contract. With what he's doing right now, especially what happens in the playoffs, that matters a lot. Because let's say he has a good regular season, but he ends up doing jack diddly in the playoffs. That's going to change some things. But regardless of all of that, even if his contract is only $8 to $10 million a year, the Denver Nuggets can't afford that, guys. And that's bad. So let's just say, for example, the Denver Nuggets could trade a Christian Brown, could trade a Cam Johnson. Okay? That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. I don't know if Peyton Watson is going to fully replace what a Christian Brown, what a Cam Johnson is giving you in the playoffs, come the playoff time. Now, you also have to find a suitor for both of those contracts. Cam Johnson has not been playing well this year overall. So then you have to start deciding, okay, if it's not Cam Johnson, then it has to be Christian Brown. Okay? Well, let's look at Christian Brown's stats this year because he has been in and out of the lineup. You can see one thing on here, and immediately every team is saying no. He's shooting 21% from three. 9.5 points per game, 45% from the field, and 21% from three. So now you start having to look at your team, and you have to say, okay, nobody wants just Christian Brown. Nobody's going to do us a favor for Christian Brown. So you have to throw in some picks. That is something Denver is not willing to do because they don't have many, okay? I understand Christian Brown's been in and out of the lineup, but this 21% three-point shooting and the injuries and his big contract is going to scare a lot of teams into accepting him, okay? And now you can look at Cam Johnson, who's on another big contract, and he's actually been picking it up as the year has been continuing. He started off slow, but now he's averaging 12 points per game, 46% from the field, and 43% from three. A lot of teams would like that. A lot of teams would like that. I do think Christian Brown will bounce back, but at the same time, with the size of his contract, it's going to be a little bit tough to just do a 1-for-1 or a 2-for-1, okay? So now let's just think Denver isn't going to make a trade like that. Let's just say, Jay-Z, I don't think the Denver Nuggets are going to make a trade like that, okay? I'd like to give a special shout out for MSD and Official Joe for leaving the TikTok and coming through to the Twitch stream. Official Joe came in and said, Killian Hayes needs another NBA chance. He's had plenty and he's horrible. He's hooping in the G though. Proud of him. So now let's continue. Jay-Z, the final question that you guys are going to ask me is if they can't move Brown or they can't move Cam Johnson, what can they do? Is there a way that they can somehow keep Peyton Watson? Yes, there is. It's time to go to school, ladies and gentlemen. I'm about to teach you guys something that even I didn't know. Okay? Even I didn't know. Let me teach you something about the second apron. We all talk about the second apron. We all talk about it. We all talk about the second apron. And yet I think 99% of us NBA fans don't quite know what the second apron is. So I did some research this morning. Let me teach you guys what the second apron in the NBA is. So, what if you go into the second apron, you get no salary aggregation. Do you know what that means? That means, you guys know the trade that you were talking about? Cam Johnson and Christian Brown, and those two contracts, let's say, equals Giannis Antetokounmpo. You can't do that trade anymore. You know the trade that just happened with Trae Young for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert? You can't do that trade anymore. You cannot combine two salaries to trade for one player anymore. So if you go into the second apron, no more trading 2 players for 1, 3 players for 1. You can't combine salaries anymore. That's not all. If you go into the second apron, you cannot send cash in a trade. So cash considerations, you cannot send that in trades anymore. And then you also have trade exemption limits. You cannot use larger trade exemptions created from sending players out for multiple salaries. So right now, for example, the Detroit Pistons have $15 million of trade exemption, meaning if we trade Jaden Ivey, we would get an additional $15 million next summer. That means the second apron teams won't get that. Meaning if you have an expiring contract, you will not get that money off your books that summer. It gets worse. You have limited exceptions, okay? You would then lose access to all mid-level exception contracts. Do you know what that means? That means you must rely on veteran minimum contracts, and you cannot participate in the buyout market. So if somebody's a free agent right now, you can't pick them up. That's not even the worst part, ladies and gentlemen. The worst part is the draft pick penalties. If you are in the second apron, you cannot trade your first round picks 7 years into the future. So if you reach that contract max, if you reach the amount of money you're allowed to technically spend, you lose access to trading any of your next 7 years of your first round picks, and it gets even worse. If you are in the second apron for 3 years, so let's say they give Peyton Watson a 3-year deal. That means they'll be in the second apron if they don't make any other moves for 3 out of the 5 years. If you are in the second apron for 3 out of the 5 years, this gets bad. Their upcoming first round pick is automatically moved to the end of the first round. So, for any Denver Nuggets fan that thinks there is any way possible that you are keeping Peyton Watson without moving Cam Johnson or Christian Brown, there is no chance in hell. My Boston Celtics fans, those trades you guys made over the summer just saved your entire next 20 years of your franchise future. So if you guys understand, everyone talks about the second apron, the second apron, the second apron. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. So now I beg you guys to go look at teams. For example, 3 teams that I'm talking about: the Detroit Pistons, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the San Antonio Spurs. What's one thing in common all 3 of those teams have done? That's build through the draft. Get their good picks. Of course, most of the teams have had bad picks mixed in there, but they have grown through their young talent that they either drafted or picked up from the G. There's no more free agency, ladies and gentlemen. Restricted free agents is not going to be a thing anymore. I assure you, 5 years from now, you are not going to be hearing the term restricted free agency any longer. Because what this means is that players aren't going to have the freedom that they thought they were in free agency. Their freedom is going to come from demanding trades. So if you're DeAndre Hunter right now in Cleveland and you're saying, oh man, I'm unhappy in Cleveland, fucking sucks to suck, buddy. You're locked in unless we decide to trade you. And you know what? I love this. I love this because you have to look at teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder. They have their 3 guys. They have their core to what they believe is going to be their core for the next 4 years. They gave $750 million. I'm going to say that one more time. The Oklahoma City front office gave their big 3 in Chet Holmgren, J-Dub, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander $750 million. They're locked in. And no teams can do that through a free agent pickup. You have to do that by extending your young talent. So I implore all of you, Magic fans, Pelicans fans, Suns fans, Rockets fans, to all look at your rosters and think, how many young players do we have right now? If the answer is less than 5 rookie contracts, you guys are screwed for the next 10 years. Especially if you don't have your next couple picks, like the New York Knicks, like the Orlando Magic, like the New Orleans Pelicans. I apologize for bringing such gloom conversation into you guys this morning, but those are the realities of things. A lot of people talk about the second apron without actually understanding it. Now, you guys can go to your friends and claim this idea as your own, and you can say, hey, guys, I think we're fucked. I think the second apron is actually kind of bad. I think the second apron, yeah, we don't have a good future. I think it's time for people to truly realize what the second apron means. And I think it's good for the NBA because it adds parity. There's a reason we've had seven different champions in the last 7 years, and that's because of the addition of the second apron. We're going to be ending today's podcast with a true or false segment, so I want you guys to take what I just said into account and talk about this later on because we do have a true or false segment. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, TikTok, if you guys are enjoying today's stream, we do this Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. If you guys are enjoying it, be sure to do exactly what MSD and Official Joe just did. Leave the TikTok and come through to the Twitch stream. You would enjoy it so much more over here, guys. It's Jay-Z Uncut on Twitch. Come join the conversation. Come join the fun stuff. Come join everything over here in the Twitch. That's Jay-Z Uncut on Twitch. The link is in my bio. I'd love to see you guys come through. Now, guys, we're going to move on to our next segment where we're going to discuss with our special guest some fun topics. All right. Now, this special guest, you guys may know him. You guys might not, but today we're going to be talking to what they call him God's strongest Pels fan, a community member from my stream, from the Twitch stream. We're going to be discussing about the future of the New Orleans Pelicans with him. And of course, I told him to keep it PG. So without a further ado, in case you guys don't watch much Pelicans games, this is going to be your key way in learning about the New Orleans Pelicans and why they are the way they are and what they can become. So I know a lot of people don't watch the Pelicans basketball. This is going to be your best way. You never have to watch another Pels game again. Just listen to what he's about to say, and you will know from here on out what the New Orleans Pelicans, what's right with them and what's wrong with them. Liam, how you doing, my man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good to have you. Good to have you. Sorry, guys. He is at work today. As a Pels fan, it does not pay to be the God's strongest Pels fan. So
it actually robs you.
Yeah, it robs you of your happiness, robs you of your soul. So Liam, I have a question, man. What started your New Orleans Pelicans super fandom?
Well, I'm born and raised from New Orleans. For anyone that's in chat or anything, if y'all know New Orleans doesn't really go by districts or counties. They go by parishes and wards. So I was born in Orleans Parish, 7th Ward, and moved over to the West Bank whenever I was younger. So like New Orleans sports has always been who I am. Aside from like the fact that my dad's from Kansas City and I would occasionally like support the Chiefs. And my baseball team is the Royals. First sports event that I ever went to was a game whenever they were the Hornets. Whenever they had like Chris Paul and David West, Peja Stojakovic. So I kind of Marco Bellinelli. So I've been invested in this team since I can remember. I think I went to a Hornets game before I went to a Saints game.
Okay. So you've been a long time fan, and what you want from this team. I mean, I'm sure it must have been confusing as well. I think it was my freshman year of high school. So I think 2012, if I'm remembering correctly, where they then got the New Orleans Pelicans name in place of the New Orleans Hornets when the Charlotte Bobcats switched on back. So
yeah,
I guess
2013 or 2012, something
okay.
like that.
Yeah. So, and that was during the Anthony Davis getting drafted and whatnot. So it was a real exciting time to be a Pelicans fan at that point. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I would say like even post Chris Paul, in like the year before we drafted AD, it was still like, you know, spirits were high because it was like, oh yeah, like, you know, it's all right. You know, we'll just tank, we'll get a good pick. And then we had gotten Anthony Davis and we were like, holy shit, Excuse me. But it was very exciting to have uh now the number one overall pick instead of the number three, because like, when you get someone who is the number one overall pick, the assumption under it is this guy is going to be a franchise changer. This guy's going to be like a cornerstone, Anthony Bennett excluded. But like, Anthony Davis was the culture setter for New Orleans basketball.
It was exciting. I remember trying to convince my econ professor at my all guys Catholic high school that Anthony Davis was legit. I think what he's going to do in New Orleans is going to resurrect that city and turn it from a football town to a basketball town. I genuinely believe that was going to be like the turning point for that franchise. And now, sorry, Liam, to cut you off, I sort of want to go deeper into that. During that tenure of Anthony Davis being there, you had a lot of changes into that roster. You had the additions of DeMarcus Cousins, who came in, and it genuinely looked like it was about to be the Twin Towers of the next decade. It looked like
that roster is, in my opinion, one of the best constructed rosters I can think of that time.
Well, on top of that, you also sorry to cut you off. You also had Tyreek Evans. You had a lot of fun players on that roster that actually knew how to play ball.
And that year that we had DeMarcus Cousins, it wasn't just like DeMarcus and AD. It was AD, Boogie, Rondo, Etwan Moore, who, if anyone doesn't know who Etwan Moore is, that man was a sniper.
Yep.
From three.
Yep.
Drew Holiday, who at the time was one of the most underrated perimeter lockdown defenders in the league.
That was straight from Philly, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I think Philly drafted him and he played like 1 year in Philly and then we traded for him.
Right. So, okay, my point that I'm trying to make here is that, ladies and gentlemen, Liam does know his Pelicans talk. This is you guys talking to me about the Detroit Pistons and what we've suffered through all the last 2 decades. So the reason why I wanted to bring Liam on here today is to sort of get a clear understanding of where the Pelicans were, how high the Pelicans were. I remember that playoff series as well. I think this was even before you guys went and made the big splash in the trade deadline when you guys lost to the Golden State Warriors. I believe it was a sweep, but it was a close sweep. Yeah. And it was like a good way.
Close.
It was like a good way to see the future. It was a good way to, like, I love the red out. The crowd showed up. So for anybody that says the Pelicans do not have a crowd, go back and look at that series. They're there. They just haven't had anything to root for at that point.
You don't even need to go back that far. Go look at the Phoenix series.
Sure, yeah.
Back in it was like 21 or 22.
Yep.
When we like made it into the playoffs and we took the number 1 seed Phoenix Suns to 6 games.
Yep. Yeah, I remember. So the reason I wanted to bring all this up, Liam, you see where you're at now. You see the roster construction that you have now. You enter Joe Dumars, right? He comes in, immediately trades your next year's pick. And, I wasn't a podcaster at that time, but I do have Go-To Podcast. Shout out No Dunks. And something that they mentioned was, this is classic Joe Dumars. He assumes that the team is going to be better than they are. He looks at them on paper. And on paper, the best you could have convinced yourself was a top 10 seed. There was nothing that clearly defined this team in being a guaranteed playoff lock, especially in the West. I could see if you were in the East, I could see play-ins being a realistic possibility when you got multiple matchups against the Brooklyn Nets, the Indiana Pacers, the Washington Wizards, all of these teams, but you only get 1 game against those teams. So now you're up against the teams in your division, your conference, and this is what's happening. Now, I don't want to dive too deep into your passion and love for Zion Williamson. I don't want to dive too deep into your pain and suffering that you have endured over the last few years. But what I do want to talk about is seeing you guys right now with your record. I believe it's 9 wins. I think it's 9 wins. You guys do not have
9 wins and I believe 33 losses now.
So you guys do not have a first-round pick next year, thanks to classic Joe Dumars. What is next for this team? You hear Trey Murphy being thrown around everywhere. You hear Herb Jones being thrown around everywhere. I'm waiting for the day I see an actual announcement from Shams where he doesn't say this team is inquiring for Trey Murphy for multiple first round picks and young talent. Herb Jones, multiple first round picks and young talent. I'm waiting for the day where they say, hey, we know what this guy's valued at. We'll take a second rounder and some cash considerations. But for now, everybody wants young talent. Everybody wants multiple draft picks. So what is the realistic next step for this team? We know that you're so high on Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queens. So what is next? You guys have no pick next year. So what do you do for the rest of this year and for the month leading up to the trade deadline?
So the common consensus that I've heard among Pels fans and a couple of insiders and through some reports is Jeremiah Fears, Micah Peavy, and Derek Queen aren't getting moved, obviously, because they're rookies. Trey Murphy and Herb Jones are more than likely not going to get moved. At the very minimum, they won't get moved until the offseason because Trey Murphy is such a hard
Absolutely.
person to come by. Like there's not very many
Liam,
6'9"
he's
wings.
basically for anybody that doesn't know, he's basically averaging a 50, 40, 90.
He's averaging a 50, 40, 90. And this month, I believe he's averaging 31 points.
Yeah.
He is he is the third best scorer in the league this month.
Yeah.
He just hit the franchise record for 3-pointers made, and this is the third best month a Pelican has scored in franchise history. Anthony Davis holding the other two. Trey Murphy is the third.
Yeah, that's That's insane.
No pun intended.
That's insane. So what do you? So if you were GM, if you were in the office with Joe D and Troy Weaver, what is you have 1 month. You have 1 month to make sure the next 10 years are not another insufferable 10 years. What are you doing in the next month?
I'm getting off these big contracts. DeJounte Murray is probably going to be kept until the offseason. And if anything, we're probably going to keep him until the next trade deadline so that he can play and get his stock back up. Jordan Poole and Zion need to be traded soon. And that's usually the consensus of the league, is that Zion's not staying into next season. No one believes
but
that.
Liam,
because
I gotta ask you, man. I gotta ask you genuinely. A lot of people don't know how bad Zion has been. Do you want to describe the level of putrid he's been this season?
Think of no, that doesn't fit. There are role players in the league that care more than Zion Williamson.
So is it a matter of
second round picks?
So
that care more than Zion?
Is it just a matter of effort for you?
It's a matter of he doesn't care. I've never seen it before. Like he doesn't rebound. He doesn't assist. This is his worst scoring efficiency since he was drafted. He can't shoot a midi. He can't shoot a three. He's always injured. He's always in the news. There's no upside to Zion Williamson that I can think of that warrants us giving him $40 million.
Okay, so now I have to ask you a realistic question that I'm sure you've laid in bed on sleepless nights about. What are you expecting in a package for a guy that you're claiming is horrendous in every facet of basketball?
I'm not going to say he's horrendous, but he does not impact winning. For anyone that sits there, because I know that there's people that think this of, oh, the Pelicans aren't using Zion right. Oh, the Pelicans aren't doing this. The Pelicans aren't doing that. We've put people around Zion. For people that are saying Zion's not getting enough use, what do you expect? He's only played above 60 games twice in his career.
Yep.
Embiid and Anthony Davis have played more than Zion. That is insane.
Yeah.
Like there's people, there was a I think he actually did it. Derek Queen has played more than Zion this year. That's where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah.
He can't stay on the court. Now, when he does, he is historically good.
Yeah.
Like, he puts up Shaquille O'Neal like numbers. And I'm not saying that he's Shaq, but
Sure.
it's comparable.
Sure.
If you want to build around Zion, you need floor spacers. You need big bodies in the paint so that Zion doesn't have to take all that damage. But it's hard to do because when Zion doesn't go down, or when Zion goes down, you're just stuck with a bunch of specialists.
Absolutely. I fully agree. Liam, I guess my final question for you is, okay, let's say you do get a package for Zion. Don't you think at this point in time, with his contract size, aren't you going to get somewhat of another player that teams have somewhat given up on and maybe pick up another contract that you don't want on your books? Or are you going to have to push another first round pick just for somebody to take this guy off your roster? Because I think this is more of a team chemistry ordeal than it is anything else. I don't think it's purely basketball fit. Because if you were to look at this team right here and you were to, let's just say, I like using the Pistons as my example because they sort of have players to complement most players in this NBA. Trey Murphy would be perfect for Detroit, right? I think everybody can agree upon that. But as we all know, the Pistons need a 4. The Pistons need an upgrade upon Tobias Harris. They're really lacking that volume shooter from the three-point line. If you were to throw Zion Williamson into that mix, even the Detroit Pistons that could complement any player in the NBA at any volume shooting position, Zion still doesn't work there. So if Zion doesn't work on a team like that, what team could you possibly see that's willing to take him on their books without you sweetening the deal with a first round pick, with a second round pick, hell, with a Jeremiah Fears?
So I've thought about this a bit, and there are teams that ideally Zion could work. The problem with Zion is there is no structure. For 7 years, Zion has been allowed to just coast on his talent because he was such a big body, but he was fast. You couldn't really stop him. Like, he would just move you out of the way. There's a clip from like the 2023 play-in where the Pelicans played against the Lakers, and he knocked LeBron on his butt.
Oh, I remember.
LeBron got swept. You need somewhere that has structure that will get Zion in shape. He can put some of the weight back on, but it's not fat, it's actual muscle. And he can use his body properly. But along with that, he needs to develop a mid-range. He needs to develop some type of corner shooting. He needs to rebound. He needs somewhere that is going to have things in the system that encourage him to play. I can see Zion in Miami. I can see Zion in Chicago.
I think we all could see Zion in Miami.
Well, and it's not
off the court. Off the court.
Not even. Well, yeah, actually, but I feel like that wouldn't happen in Miami because Pat Riley is a no nonsense type of guy.
Yeah.
We've heard the stories about how Pat Riley was with LeBron and with Jimmy and with like all of these other stars. If Zion goes to Miami, Pat Riley's not gonna take anything.
No, there would probably be a no BBL clause mixed in there.
It's gonna be get in the gym, keep your nose clean, and we'll pay you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't expect the return for Zion to be anything spectacular. At most, it's going to be like a mid-level role player and expiring and maybe a second rounder if we're lucky.
Okay. I think that's great analysis. And real quick, before we let you go, Liam, opinion, what's the core? Is Trey Murphy sticking around? Is he untouchable, as some reports might say? Or are the Pelicans front office sort of doing what Mark Cuban and what every other smart front office does? This guy's not available. That guy's not available. Because if they look desperate, if they put them on the market, then obviously you're going to get some lowball offers.
I think it's a little bit of both. I'm not going to say the word untouchable because I believe the word untouchable is overused. There are virtually no untouchables in the league, except for maybe like 4 people. After the Luka Doncic trade, which under different
Of
circumstances,
course,
I
there's definitely
understand.
personal vendettas mixed in there.
Yeah, but there's virtually no untouchables. There's people with a high price tag. Trey Murphy is one of those people with a high price tag. Herb Jones is one of those people with a high price tag. But I also do think it's Joe Dumars sitting down, realizing where we're at, and being like, I can't look too desperate because we don't have a first round pick. We don't have our pick next year. We don't have our own pick until 2028. We need something. So if one of those two gets moved, it's probably Herb, because Herb's entering his 30s and defenders usually start to decline after like their early 30s. Right now, Herb is at the peak of his defensive skill set.
Yeah.
He can net you 2 first round picks or like a first and a pick swap if you're lucky. But the thing is, not a lot of contenders are willing to move draft capital because of stuff like the second apron. They're trying to dump salary.
Yeah. I mean, what's genuinely crazy about this roster is like your guys' future could really look better than almost every single young team, young small market team with just a couple trades, because you guys do have valuable assets that could do well on championship contending teams. Just before I let you go, you have Jose Alvarado. He could do great in a setting of like New York if they just move a couple pieces. You have Trey Murphy, who could fit on any team in the NBA. You have a Herb Jones. It's just, and you have Jordan Poole, but you also have like people like Kevon Looney who have proven to be useful in limited minutes. So I think you guys do have the pieces to set yourselves up nicely for the future. It's just a matter of how bad do they really want it.
Yeah, I don't think Jordan Poole is bad. Like, genuinely, I think he has some value. But the reason why he was successful on Golden State and not super successful in Washington or in New Orleans right now is because the systems that are fit for those teams,
Right.
Jordan Poole does not fit. Jordan Poole is a self-creator, or if he is in a team setting that has a bunch of three-point shooters, he is a catch and shoot 3 type of person.
Right.
Which is not New Orleans.
Yeah, I fully agree. Liam, I appreciate you, my man. Thank you for taking time out of your work day on being here. Our very first guest, everybody, remember this moment. Remember where you were when you saw how handsome Liam is for the very first time. Liam, before we let you go, anything that you'd like to plug? I know you've been wanting to start dabbling into sports writing. Is there anything that you want to promote?
Nothing yet. I'm still kind of working on some stuff. A lot of my stuff is going to be different articles or if maybe I start like something. I'm more than willing to let people know.
Awesome.
There's stuff in the works.
Awesome. Liam, we're very happy to hear that. We're very happy to have you on our show. And yeah, you know where to find all of us. If you ever need anything, you got a whole community now to holler at you and help you out in any step of the way. All right, my man, have a good rest of your day of work. Thank you for taking time out of your day for coming on here. I know everybody appreciated it very much, and I hope you have a blessed rest of your day.
Y'all too. Thank you so much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our very first time we have had a live guest appear on the show. I think that was a lot of fun. I think we handled it very, very well. I think Liam did a great freaking job. He knows his stuff. I figured to myself, why am I going to talk about the New Orleans Pelicans when I know my stuff? You guys know I know my stuff, but I genuinely wanted to hear it from a real Pelicans fan. I wanted you guys to hear it from the horse's mouth. And I think nobody better than to hear it from the God's strongest Pels fan in the world. Okay. Now, shout out Liam, of course. I would like to move on to our next segment where we're just going to quickly break down some of the games that happened last night. Oh, oops, I clicked the wrong buttons. Okay, so we're gonna just real quick go through some of the games that happened last night. Okay, obviously we saw what happens in Denver and New Orleans. We just spent about 45 minutes on that. So Phoenix Suns versus Miami. Miami got it done. Obviously, Bam Adebayo must have heard what I've been talking about with him. I said he hasn't scored 20 in over a month. He went out and scored 29 and was lights out from deep. Honestly, a sight to see. It was a sight to freaking see. If you guys were not watching this game, it was a thing of beauty. This guy was actually going crazy. It was a lot of fun to watch. Bam Adebayo straight up put the team on their back at the end of the game. Obviously, Norman Powell hit that big midi to end that game. 27 points for him. Tyler Hero, 23 points. Bam Adebayo, 29 points on a very efficient 11 for 15. Shout out to Big Bam. He did his thing. And then you also had contributions from the bench in Khalil Ware and Jaime Jaquez. If Drew Smith touches the court, just know the Miami Heat are going to choke a 20-point lead. He was minus 19 on the court. They were up 20 with 30 seconds into the third quarter, and they ended up choking that entire lead in just the third. And then the Suns absolutely crumbled. I claim the Suns as my team in the West, but they have me doubting myself a lot. Seeing them in clutch time is embarrassing. Genuinely. They took out Devin Booker, and then they went on that run. They brought in Devin Booker, and then he killed whatever momentum they had during that run. If you guys watch this game, you know what I'm talking about. Devin Booker's catching a lot of flack on basketball Twitter, as every player does when they have a bad game and they make a lot of money. So Devin Booker killed any momentum they had, and they ended up losing that game. Grayson Allen had a great game, 25 points off the bench, and that was about all the bench production they could have got from that team. I was not enjoying the end of the game for the Phoenix Suns, and this isn't just a one-game sample size. This has been happening almost every single game. If you guys go back to the Knicks game that they played, they were lucky that they were missing Josh Hart. They were lucky that the Knicks were in a somewhat of a funk, right, offensively, because in that game, the Suns may have won it, but they did not deserve to win that game. All they do is switch off like short little handoffs at the top of the perimeter. That's all they do. And I think, Jalen Green will help that. But unfortunately, when you have two ball stoppers on one team, it tends to not really work out well. The Phoenix Suns are still my team I'm claiming in the Western Conference. And for anybody telling me we're somebody in the TikTok is actually just saying it right now. We literally have a missing Jalen Green, LMAO. Okay, yeah, he has played one game all season. So you can't say you're missing Jalen Green. You can say you're missing Jalen Green if he's played all the games and then missed one game. For example, the Detroit Pistons, when they missed Cade for those 3 games, they're 3-1 without Cade. You can say we were without Cade. You can't say we're without Jalen Green when you've been without him all year. That's the Cleveland Cavaliers saying, wait until we get Max Strus back. No, he's been out all year. I think the Phoenix Suns will play better. The only complaints I have on this team is their fourth quarter conversions. All they do is hunt the 3-ball. They just hand off, 3-ball, and that lost them the game, unfortunately. And obviously, Dillon Brooks had a chance to tie it back up, and he airballed the 3. I lost count how many 3s they attempted in that fourth quarter, but it was ugly. And then we had the Houston Rockets surviving against the Chicago Bulls, who were without Kobe White, Josh Giddey. And they lost. They put up a good fight. Trey Jones had a legacy game, 34 points. He was awesome. He was 11 for 12 shooting, and they ended up losing. Buzelis, 19, Vucevic, 14, Jalen Smith, 14. Patrick Williams, a goose egg, 0 for 6 from the court. Patrick Williams is not a basketball player. I am fully convinced. The Houston Rockets, they were great on their side. Alperen Sengun, 23 points, 11 assists. You had Kevin Durant, 28 points, 10 rebounds. And then you had Amen Thompson, 23 points, 5 rebounds. Bench did their thing. J.D. Davison stepped in, and he had 9.7 rebounds, 4 assists, all off the bench, shooting 3 for 6. And they won the game. So shout out to the Houston Rockets. They played well. Real quick, I don't really have any notes to talk about the national televised game of the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder. But what I will say on this team, the Thunder, they managed to win. And part of it was, the third quarter, they were incredible. Like, they were actually lights out in that third quarter. I believe they shot 82% in the third quarter, and they ended up scoring 40 points. You give up 40 points to the defending champions, and that's without their defense already. Like, you're not even talking about their defense. You have a very slim chance at winning any game in the NBA. Sorry to say it, but that's just the sad reality of things. Nobody had really a good game for the San Antonio Spurs. I'd say Wemby had the best game, but he only had 17.7 rebounds, and he was minus 14 on the court. Listen, man, Harrison Barnes, he's in a bad funk, and this is turning more into a bad funk because this has been 25 games of a bad funk. Harrison Barnes in this season is still averaging 36% from 3 and 43% from the field. I dare you to go look at his last 25 games in the NBA because it's not good. It's not good. But something I do want to say very quickly on the San Antonio Spurs is everyone's saying like trade Harrison Barnes, trade Harrison Barnes. I'm seeing a lot of discourse about De'Aaron Fox as well. Talking about trade De'Aaron Fox, trade De'Aaron Fox. I don't know why Spurs fans are rushing things. Spurs fans want De'Aaron Fox gone immediately. And here's an Orlando Magic fan coming in and saying Spurs need to make some trades. They do not. Let it ride. Let it ride. They are ahead of schedule, just like a lot of teams in the well, I guess the Detroit Pistons. There's no need to make any risky trade. Keep Harrison Barnes. He's a proven vet. Trust that he'll be better in the playoffs. Okay? De'Aaron Fox. Everybody wants De'Aaron Fox gone. This is not a big market team, and you're not in a rush. You are not in a rush. Take your time. I will admit the lineups last night were sort of atrocious. I did not like seeing Lindy Waters, De'Aaron Fox, and Stephon Castle on the court at the same time. There's no need right now to be making any rash decisions. I see people talking about Jeremy Sohan, why he's not playing and whatnot. Guys, y'all have to realize the San Antonio Spurs are ahead of schedule. You don't need to move Fox yet. You don't need to move Harrison Barnes yet. You need vets on this team come playoff time. If they have any chance at winning one playoff series, you're going to need these vets around them with a De'Aaron Fox, with a Harrison Barnes. You need these kinds of players while your young players develop. They obviously miss Devin Vassell, but overall, that's not why they lost this game. I'm sick of seeing Spurs fans right now trying to rush this process. There's no need right now. You don't need to win a playoff series this year. It would just be cool if you can. So quit thinking that we're in a rush. You're not. Unless, and this is sort of a inner monologue that I've been creating on my own for some Spurs fans, unless the reason that Spurs fans are trying to rush is because they think Wemby's career is going to be short, you have no reason to rush. You do not need to rush. I'm on the same boat as you. De'Aaron Fox is not playing really well. Harrison Barnes is playing poorly. But what's the need in rushing? I think there's an inner monologue between Spurs fans about whether or not Wemby is going to play 10 years in the NBA. I understand that De'Aaron Fox is taking more minutes from Stephon Castle, from Dylan Harper. You do not want to play Dylan Harper 26 minutes in a playoff game in his rookie year. You do not want that. You do not want that. You do not need to make a drastic trade. You have picks, you have a future, you have vets, you have young players. Take it slowly. People are telling me Dylan Harper needs more minutes, but he's shooting 19% from 3 in his last 20 games. 19% from 3 in his last 20 games. So that player is not going to get 30 minutes into the playoffs. If they don't have De'Aaron Fox, I'm sorry to break it to y'all, this team is barely a playoff team. Barely. Stephon Castle in his last 15 games is averaging 18% from 3. Again, that's 18% from 3. This team needs a De'Aaron Fox. This team needs Harrison Barnes. I understand they're not shooting that great right now, but they need them moving forward. Okay? So quit this rushing BS. You do not need to rush. This team has no pressure. Win one playoff series, and that's still an overachievement. You don't need to win a playoff series this year. The fact that you're in this seeding to begin with is incredible. Take your time and make a calculated trade into the offseason. TikTok, if you guys are enjoying the stream, you would enjoy the stream so much more over here on the Twitch. We would love to have y'all over here. That's Jay-Z Uncut on Twitch. Link is in my bio. Be sure to leave the TikTok, come through to the Twitch stream. The link is in my bio, or just go to the Twitch app and look up Jay-Z Uncut. Real quick, I don't have much to talk about on this game, but the Minnesota Timberwolves without Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert absolutely decimated Giannis and the Bucks. It was just embarrassing. The Timberwolves nailed 22 threes and just pooped all over the Milwaukee Bucks. It was bad. It was bad. It was bad. They let Bones Highland off the bench drop 23 points on their domes. So that was not a good game from the Milwaukee Bucks. The only person who decided to show up to work today was Giannis Antetokounmpo, 25 points, 9 for 13. We will be talking about Giannis later, so I'm not going to talk much about this game. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Lakers crushing the Atlanta Hawks. Now, this game got a little bit close. And then Luka decided to turn the ball over multiple times, over and over and over again. Turn the ball over, complain, and then not play defense. JJ Redick yanked him. And, JJ Redick looks Luka Doncic looks a bit upset on the bench. He looked upset. He looked angry. He did not look happy. We will be talking about Luka Doncic later on into this podcast. We also will be talking about Giannis later on in this podcast. We are trying to speed run through this round because I didn't really handle my time there very well on today's podcast. I spent a little bit too much time on Peyton Watson in the second apron. So TikTok, be sure to swing on into the Twitch stream. It's a much better experience over here. We would really, you guys are really doing yourself a disservice by not coming into the Twitch stream. The link is in my bio. Come join a community of basketball knowers and basketball enjoyers. Come through. In the last game of the night that I stayed up until 2 a.m. to watch was the Golden State Warriors killing the Denny Avdia-less Portland Trailblazers. Not enough free throws, so they ended up losing the game. They only had 17 free throws to the Warriors 13. The proof is in the pudding. The Golden State Warriors won because they hit 23 threes. That'll do it. You're not beating a team that gets 23 threes in a game. That was all with Curry only hitting 2 threes. Steph Curry forgot how to shoot, ladies and gentlemen. 7 points for Steph Curry on 2 for 9 shooting, but everybody else did their job. Jimmy Butler was 5 for 7 from the field. Draymond Green was 4 for 9. Quentin Post sucked. He was 1 for 5. But Moses Moody knocked down 4 threes. Brandon Paz knocked down 3. Guy Santos knocked down 2. Al Horford knocked down 2. Will Richard knocked down 2. And DeAnthony Melton with a career game off the bench, 23 points, plus 20 while he's on the court. 9 for 14 from the field and 4 for 6 from downtown. The Golden State Warriors win a game against the Portland Trailblazers. I believe that they were 0-3 against the Trailblazers this season. They're either 0-3 or 0-2. Now, let's move on to some true or false. Guys, I know we haven't had that poppin' of a stream today because the TikTok viewers don't want to come to the Twitch for some reason. So let's move on to some true or false, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I need your guys' help. I'm going to say a statement, and I want you to let me know whether or not it's true or false. All right? True or false? TikTok, if you guys want your answers read, be sure to come through to the Twitch. Ladies and gentlemen, true or false? Giannis will be traded in the offseason. I'm going to go ahead and answer this before you guys even answer this. That's true. It's not going to happen during the season. We all know it's not going to happen. It's too big of a trade to do in the middle of the season. And Giannis clearly is trying to do the tough guy act and say, I'm not trying to request a trade. We all know, buddy. We all know. The crowd booed you guys at home. Obviously, they weren't booing Giannis. He was the only guy that showed up to work. But you're getting booed at home. This is not a good look. This is not a good look. He doesn't look happy. They're not playing well. He's wasted yet another season in Milwaukee for no reason. That's genuinely 4 years wasted in this city. Yeah, I saw he was crying on the bench. Giannis, I'm saying that you're going to get traded in the offseason. I wish that you'd force your hand now and just go somewhere because it's not working out, man. This team is horrendous. This team is so bad. I knew before the season when he said we have Ryan Rollins and Cole Anthony, I knew it was over. Jugmaster, shout out to my boy Jugmaster for leaving the TikTok stream and coming through to the Twitch. Welcome on in, bro. I wish you brought more of y'all over here. Welcome on in, my boy. Exclamation point Discord. Be sure to join the Discord as well. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. All right. Now, remember, guys, if you do watch on Twitch, the Twitch is Jay-Z Uncut. If you do watch on Twitch for 3 streams in a row, I will gift you a sub so that you no longer get ads. I will literally reach into my pocket and gift you a $5 sub if you watch for 3 streams in a row on Twitch. I'm glad everybody agrees with me. I knew everybody would agree with me that he is going to get traded this offseason. It's too big of a trade to happen during the season. It's way too big of a trade to happen during the season. So I'm glad y'all agree with me in my opinion of he will be traded in the off season. Let's move on to our next true or false. Ladies and gentlemen, answer with me. True or false? Luka Doncic will finish his career in LA. This one's interesting. And I'm genuinely curious what your guys' responses are before I give my own. So I'm going to let y'all just go ahead and answer that. Luka Doncic will finish his NBA career in LA. Genuinely curious what everybody's opinion is. True, false, false, true, false. They don't have a future. I sure hope not. Jugmaster came into the Twitch stream and said, true. Unless he goes back to Dallas, he doesn't go anywhere. Jugmaster, you better join the Discord with your fat brain, bro. I love it. I love it. I love it. False. He's going back to the Mavs. Okay. I am going to say false. I believe he is going to end up back on the Dallas Mavericks. I believe. I don't think he enjoys LA. Genuinely. Exclamation point Discord in the chat, Jug. I don't think I see it. I think he's going to go back to Dallas eventually. I don't know if it'll be when he's a free agent. I think 3 years from now. Maybe he'll force a trade. I don't know. But I don't think he's genuinely happy in LA. I'm sorry to all you Lakers fans. I love him. Yeah, Nico's gone. The training staff is gone. I think he's going to go back to Dallas. Genuinely. I really think he's going to go back to Dallas. I don't know when. I don't know what the Dallas Mavericks will look like at that point in time. You would assume they have Cooper Flag. TikTok, this is why I don't read the TikTok chat, just so you guys know. So shout out to Jack and shout out to Jug for leaving the TikTok and joining the Twitch stream. This guy in the TikTok said, Luka stays there for sure. He will never go back to Dallas. There's too much bad blood there. The only bad blood there is gone. So TikTok, that's why I tell you guys to leave that stream and come through to the Twitch stream. The link is in my bio. Be sure to join up and come through to the Twitch. If you watch 3 Twitch streams in a row, I will reach into my own pocket and gift you a $5 subscription so you no longer get ads. All right? Get away from dudes like that over there. Let's move on to my final true or false, ladies and gents. My final true or false. Guys, true or false? Free agency is dead. Now, we talked about this earlier. Ladies and gents. Free agency is dead. It's a thing of the past. We talked about this earlier because of the second apron. Okay? Think long and hard about this before you answer. You don't need to be the first. But the only way now to build your team is through trades, through the draft, and through the G League. That is the only way you can build your team now. Why would a team want to join a franchise where they get less money? And why would a team want to offer that a lot of money for them to a player that's going to cost more than the players that they can draft and that they can start up from the G League? Why would a player want that? Why would a team want that? The player gets less money from said team, and the team gives more money for said player. I think what you're going to see from here on out is the first thing that's going to die immediately is restricted free agency. I think that's only going to be a thing for the next couple of years, and then that's a wrap with restricted free agents. They might just get rid of it. They just might get rid of it. So at that point in time, you genuinely have to look at this roster, right? You have to look at this team, and you have to consider yourself, can this player take us above that hill? So, for example, you have Peyton Watson going into restricted free agency this coming summer. Okay? Obviously, the Nuggets want him, but he's going to get an offer from every single team in the NBA. So, then you have to look at that and say, we shouldn't have allowed him to go into restricted free agency because we should have just took the risk. And you're going to see a lot of teams take the risk from here on out and pay a player a medium amount of money rather than allow them to go into restricted free agency so they don't have to owe them more. Like a Jaden Ivey, like a Peyton Watson who didn't show the promise that he's showing this year, like a Jalen Duren. You think you're ever going to see another player of the Peyton Watson raw prospect, the Jalen Duren raw prospect, ever hit restricted free agency ever again? I guarantee you, you won't. You're going to see the Josh Giddeys. You're going to see the Kobe Whites. You're going to see the Jaden Ivies. But you are no longer going to see a player that is prolific in one area, like a Peyton Watts' defense, like a Jalen Duren's great hands and rebounding. If they are prolific at one thing on the basketball court, they will never touch restricted free agency ever again, because at that point, you just got to pay them. You got to pay them. Look at the Pistons now. They're going to owe Jalen Duren more money because they waited instead of extending him. And to be fair, the Pistons did no wrong there. Jalen Duren has been inconsistent. So I think free agency is on its way out. I think free agency is truly on its way out. I think the only free agents that you're going to start seeing is the Tim Hardaway Juniors, like the vets who can bring one skill to a team. Other than that, your team better have a bunch of rookie contracts. Otherwise, it's not going to be competing for a long time. And with that, that is going to do today's episode. That's an hour and 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. That was a long episode, so my apologies. TikTok, YouTube, before I head out, be sure to swing on into the Twitch stream. The link is in my bio. That's JZ Uncut on Twitch. I hope to see you guys swing on into the Twitch. The link is in my bio, or just go to the Twitch app and look up JZ Uncut. Podcast listeners, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. This is a banger episode. This is a lot of fun. And if you guys did enjoy, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, follow, all that jazz, and come through to the Twitch stream. That's the most important thing that you could do. All right, guys, I got nothing left to say except for thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And as always, guys, thank you for watching / listening. Twitch chat, stick around for a bit. Have a blessed day, everybody.